Imagine suffering in a house where you're beaten for breathing too loudly. Then one day, someone gives you a tiny bell that can change your life forever. But there's a catch. Sit tight, grab your chin-chin, and let's dive into this powerful, painful, and karma-filled story. A long time ago, in the quiet village of Ikot-Abasi, there lived a woman whose heart was as dry as burnt yam and as bitter as unripe abalomo. Her name was Madam Imabasi. And if wickedness was a school, she would have graduated with first class and even be made headmistress on top of it. Ikot-Abasi was not a big village, but it had everything. It had grain farms, it had gossiping market women, and most importantly, it had a sacred river called RUTH. Life in Ikot-Abasi moved slowly, but it was very lively. One could be entertained by just watching roosters crowing before sunrise or children chasing grasshoppers in red sand. But not everyone was kind in Ikot-Abasi. Someone like Madam Imabasi, who lived in a large compound near the village square. Her husband had traveled abroad for greener pastures and had not returned in years. But she didn't mind though. She wore lace every Sunday, powdered her face like fufu, and boasted to anyone who cared to listen that she was a woman of standard. But what she had in lace, she lacked in grace. She had one daughter, Ididiyong, who was 19 years old and already behaving like a commissioner's wife. The girl could not lift a finger without complaining. She complained about the littlest things, especially about her food if it's not made the way she likes it. Then came Ekaite, a quiet girl of 20 years, sent by her parents from the far end of Akpabuyo to live with Madam Imabasi. Her parents were poor, and when they heard that their distant relative needed help at home and would put Ekaite in school, they thought, oh, it was a blessing. At least their daughter will get good education and feed very well. Better life is calling you, my daughter, her mother said as she tied Ekaite's scarf and handed her a small black nylon where she packed her 2 clothes. Go and help your auntie. You will learn work and you will go to school. Ah, if only they knew. The moment Ekaite stepped into Madam Imabasi's compound, the woman looked at her up and down like someone inspecting a goat at the market. So, you are the girl? She asked, eating fried yam with her 2 legs wide apart like a local council chairwoman. You look dry. You better be useful. Yes, ma, Ekaite quickly responded, dropping her bag and bowing her head. You can sweep? Yes, ma. You can cook? Small. You can cook. You will learn. You see that small room there, behind the kitchen, near the bathroom? That's your own. Go and arrange yourself, the woman said, rising from her chair. Ekaite nodded and went to see the room. But it was not a room, it was a prison. Inside the so-called room was one old torn mat. Then there was a broken stool and cobwebs that had signed tenancy agreements with the ceiling. There were no fan, no window nets, and the only tiny louver window there looked like it would spoil if you dared to open it. But Ekaite said nothing. That night, a very heavy rain fell and everywhere was so cold, but she bathed with cold water still. She lay on her mat and told herself, just endure small. Oh, maybe she's just strict. I can handle small heat. 3 days later, Ekaite was no longer a girl. She had become a machine. She swept the compound before morning, washed plates whether they were used or not, fetched water, cleaned the toilet, and still had to cook stew and rice, fry fish, and serve it to Madam and Edidiong without even tasting the stew. "Why is this rice so sticky?" Edidiong would shout, pushing her plate like a spoiled princess. "Do I look like a local girl to you?" Madam would frown and turn to Ekaete. "You, this girl, you want to disgrace me, Abi? Is it porridge I asked you to cook? How does this even resemble rice?" Before Ekaete could even explain, one hot slap will land like a spiritual offering. Sometimes the woman didn't even talk before beating her. It was automatic. Her hand just moved on their own without notice. Washing or beating followed. Cooking or beating. Even breathing too loud, flogging followed. Ekaite's body had become a map of canes and slaps. The worst part is food. Ekaite was not allowed to eat the main food in the house. They gave her leftover, burnt rice, spoiled soup, and sometimes only dry garri without sugar to soak and drink. When she dared to ask for bread one morning, Madam Imabasi hissed and said, "If you want bread, go and open a bakery, you this idiot." One Saturday evening, Ekaite was in the backyard washing clothes, with her hands white with detergent foam. Edidiong passed and poured dirty water on the freshly washed bedsheets. "Sorry, oh," she said, not looking sorry at all. Ekaite looked at her. For a moment, she wanted to rush the girl and reset her front teeth. Then she wanted to scream so loud and let out her built-up emotions. Then she wanted to cry so much and hug her mother. But instead, she snapped out of her delulu and she picked up the clothes and continued washing. This was Ekaite's story, and this was how she survived, just by pretending nothing touched her, even when everything did. Then came one Sunday that changed everything. See, if the sun had a grudge against anybody that Sunday, it was definitely Ekaite. By 9 a.m., the heat was already licking the rooftops like firewood flame, and goats were hiding under abandoned wheelbarrows. Inside the house, Madam Imabasi was sweating and angry. A very dangerous combination. "Ekaite!" Her voice thundered from the bedroom like an ancestral curse. "How many times will I shout? That tank is still dry. Do you want me to use spit and bait? Can't you see that everywhere is hot?" Ekaite came running from the backyard, her forehead shining. "Ma, I already fetched yesterday. I washed your clothes. I washed Auntie Edidiong's uniform. And I haven't even eaten anything. Is it food that brought you here? Or is it work?" Madam snapped, tying her wrapper tightly around her chest. "I said go to the stream and bring water. Make sure you fill that tank and extra 2 buckets before I kill you with my bare hands." Ekaite shifted from one foot to the other. Her lips were dry, but she forced the words out. "Auntie, please ma, today is Sunday. Uduak Idim is sacred." People say before she could finish, a hot, accurate slap landed on her cheek. "Will you shut that your dirty, smelling mouth? Did the stream tell you anything personally? Or is it your grandfather that built the river?" Ekaite held her cheek, holding back tears from the hot slap. "But ma, if I hear another but now, I will beat you until your ancestors show up." Madam backed. "Come on, will you take the buckets and move before I lose my temper completely? You fool." Ekaite picked the 2 buckets with shaking hands and walked out of the compound with a very heavy heart. As she passed a group of old women selling okra by the roadside, one of them squinted and whispered, is that girl going to the stream on a Sunday? Yeah, she must be a stranger. These Lagos people, they don't ask questions. Abi they know they respect people culture. Another woman muttered. But Ekaete kept walking. She knew she had no option. The path to Iduak River was narrow and red, lined with tall bushes and the kind of silence that made your chest tighten. When Ekaete reached the stream, her eyes moved around carefully, scanning every area. But there was no one else there. Even the stream itself seemed still. It wasn't flowing. It was just quiet. Goosebumps appeared on her skin. With fear, she knelt beside the edge, rushing to fetch water and run away. Then she heard it. Coughing. A soft, scratchy cough that came from somewhere behind her. She turned quickly. Her heart almost jumped out of her body. Then she saw her, an old woman, who was coming down the path. She was walking slowly with her bent back and her bones looking like they were held together by hope. She wore a faded red wrapper, and on her head was a large pail of water. Shaking with every step, she was basically struggling. Ekaete rose to her feet. "Mama, please wait." The old woman paused and said, "Eh? Let me help you, Mama. That looks heavy," Ekaete said, already walking up to her. The woman blinked in confusion. "You want to help me?" "Yes, Mama." She took the pail gently, balancing it on her own head. It was heavier than it looked, but she said nothing. The old woman nodded slowly, as if trying to remember the last time someone helped her. "You are not from this village, are you?" "I am from Ababuyoma, but I live with my auntie here," Ekaete said as she walked slowly. The old woman responded and said nothing more. Her eyes stayed on the dusty path ahead, but her fingers fidgeted with the edge of her wrapper, like someone deep in thought. After a long walk, they reached a tiny round hut whose roof sagged like an old man's back, and the walls were the color of clay. "Drop it by that stool," the old woman said, pointing. Ekaete obeyed and wiped sweat from her forehead. She wanted to sit, but she didn't want to be rude, so she stood up. The old woman sat down slowly and looked at Ekaete long and hard before she said, "You shouldn't be here." "I know," Ekaete said, looking down, "but my auntie said I must come." The woman nodded slowly. "I can see you're not like the others. Most girls your age would walk past me. Some would even laugh at me. But you deemed it fit to help a poor old woman." Ekaete forced a small smile and said, "It's nothing, Mama." "It's something," the old woman said. Then she added, "But I beg you, don't come here on Sunday again. Uduak Eden doesn't like to be disturbed on this day. And if you had seen any other person other than me, who knows what would have been your fate?" Ekaete's lips trembled. She wanted to talk, to say everything that burdened her. The beatings, the hunger strike, the insults, the slap that still burned on her cheek. But she couldn't. Because sometimes telling your story only reminds you of how helpless you are. So she said, "Thank you, Mama," picking her bucket to leave. As she walked back to the stream, she felt the old woman's eyes on her, watching like a hawk. She then fetched her water as quickly as she could and carried it all the way home. Her legs were burning, her arms were tired, her cheeks were already warming up for another slap. By the next Sunday, the devil had already signed a lease agreement with Madam Imabasi. The sun wasn't even fully up when her shouting started. "Ekaete! Ekaete! Is it me you want to kill with heat in this house? The poor girl came running. You could see her eyes still half shut from sleep. Ma, are you asking me ma like a goat? Go and check the tank. Water has finished. What kind of witch are you? Eh? Always drinking water and flushing toilet like someone doing competition. Ekaite rubbed her eyes. But auntie, I fetched 3 basins yesterday. 3 basins and that tank is already dry? What exactly do you use this water for, Ekaite? Do you beat the gates with it? Because I don't understand how fast it finishes. Ekaite opened her mouth to respond, but she made the mistake of saying, maybe I should go tomorrow, ma. Today is Sunday, and boza! One backhand slap flung her sideways, resetting her brains. Did I ask for your opinion? Is it you that built EBUBE Academy? Or are you now the spiritual spokesperson for the stream? Ekaite held her face, tears already forming. Just look at you, head like abandoned coconut. Go and fetch that water before I match you here. So Ekaite went. But this time, her heart was tired. She didn't even cry. She just carried the bucket gingerly and walked quietly to the stream, dragging her feet like someone heading for judgment. EBUBE Academy was as quiet as ever. But as soon as she reached the edge, she felt it. That same shift in the air, like someone ancient was awake. She dipped her first bucket into the stream, and just as she was lifting it, she heard the cough again, that familiar dry cough. She turned around slowly, and there she was, the same old woman. She even looked more bent than the last time. Her wrapper was barely hanging on her frail body, but her eyes, those eyes, they were bright, like they could see what the world could not see. My child, she said softly, you came again. Ekaite dropped her bucket and fell to her knees, hot tears pouring freely. I'm sorry, Mama. I didn't want to come. I swear she beat me. She slapped me because I said you warned me. She made me come here again. I didn't even know what else to do. The old woman walked closer, her stick tapping against the hard earth. She bent a little and touched Ekaite's bruised cheeks. You are still kind, even with a broken spirit. Ekaite sobbed harder, burying her face in her hands. Oh, someone that truly sees her and understands what she has been through. The old woman reached into her wrapper and brought out a small red pouch. She untied it slowly and brought out a golden bell, about the size of a doorknob, with a red thread tied to the handle. Take this. Ekaite looked up, confused. What is this, ma? She asked. Take it. It's the key to your freedom, but it is only for you. She placed the bell into Ekaite's palm. Ekaite felt a strange warmth shoot up her arm. You have 3 wishes, Ekaite, but listen to me very carefully. You can only make 1 wish at a time, only when your heart is clean. Do not wish in anger, do not wish to destroy. This bell only listens to truth, pure need, and intent. Ekaite looked down at the bell, still confused at the magic such a tiny bell promises. You said 3 wishes, Mama. The woman nodded, and after the 3rd, no more. So, choose wisely. Thank you so much, Ma, Ekaite whispered. The woman stood up and said, Go now, and don't come back here. The stream has already given you what it was meant to give. Back home, things got worse. The moment Ekaite entered, hey, Madam Imabasi was waiting like a lion beside the door. You this useless girl, she shouted. What kept you this long? Do you think I'm your mate? Ekaite tried to speak, Madam's leg kicked her so hard on her thighs, like someone practicing kung fu. So, you are now going to the stream to gossip with your ancestors. Oh, you don't think I know that you've been sleeping with one eye open? Eh? Mfum. She grabbed Ekaite by the ear, pushed her towards the tank, and shouted, "So after all that delay, you didn't even fill up this tank? Useless rat. You don't want peace in this house, Abi? You want fire. I will give you thunder and brimstone." Ekaite was crying at this point, feeling very sad. After the shouting and kicking episode, Ekaite sat at the backyard of the house. Her eyes were red from crying, and her body was very weak. Then she remembered the little gifts the old woman gave her and decided to put it to test. She looked around. Nobody was there. So she reached into her pocket and brought out the bell. Her hands were shaking, but she was determined to find out what the bell could truly do. So she closed her eyes and whispered, "I wish the water tank would be full." After the wish, she slowly rang the bell just once. Ding! Then there came silence. And then there was a soft humming sound, like wind blowing inside water. Suddenly, the pipes began to gurgle. Madam Ibabasi, who had gone into the kitchen, heard the sound and rushed out. "Ah, what is that noise?" She rushed and turned the tap by the backyard tank. Water gushed out. It was clean, it was cold, it was pure, pouring as if someone had installed a borehole overnight. She froze. "Jesus of Ikotabasi!" She shouted. "What is this?" She checked the tank. It was filled to the brim, overflowing even. Her jaw dropped in awe. She then turned slowly and looked at Ekaite, who was pretending to scrub the floor. "Ekaite, how did this happen? How did you do this?" But Ekaite returned to her work, hiding a tiny smile behind her tired eyes. The first wish had worked, and for the first time in a long time, Ekaite had something her madam couldn't understand. A secret and a little piece of power. The tank stayed full for 3 straight days, and even when the neighbors' tanks went dry, Madam Ibabasi's tank remained overflowing. It was as if water angels were pouring sachets of water from heaven. And still, Ekaite said nothing. She still cooked and still washed plates like a good girl. But inside her room, the bell slept quietly, wrapped in a cloth and tucked away like treasure. Madam Ibabasi couldn't rest. She started watching Ekaite with her side eye, pacing up and down like a detective in wrapper. Something is off about that girl, she told her daughter one evening. Because water doesn't just appear from nowhere. "Listen, Edidion, I want you to keep an eye on her. Watch her movements. Follow her if you have to." Edidion rolled her eyes. "Mama, I beg, I'm not a spy." "Will you shut up there? What else are you useful for? Abi, you don't want to know why that tank filled itself?" Edidion grumbled. "Fine, I will watch her. Happy now?" "Idiot. Just do as I say and be very discreet though," she told her daughter. Meanwhile, Ekaite was growing hungry and tired by the day. The slap on Sunday had been following her ever since. Then there was punishment on Monday. Madam refused to give her food because she didn't sweep the backyard like a human being. On Tuesday, they gave her fish head and leftover beans that was almost spoiled. And by Wednesday, Ekaite was seeing double. That evening, she sat outside the kitchen wall, knees pulled to her chest, stomach making sound like a generator. She closed her eyes and said, "Ah, this must be what dying slowly feels like." So she brought out the bell again. She held the bell tightly, And then she whispered, I wish I had something good to eat, please. She rang it once. Ding! At first, there was silence. Then she heard a low hum, like wind blowing through the metal. Then a soft pop sound followed. And when Ekaite opened her eyes, there it was. A large tray of food containing a hot steaming jollof rice, the smoky type, with large chicken thighs, moi moi wrapped in leaves, goat's meat as soft as sponge, chin chin that was still warm, and a bottle of chilled zobo with floating cucumber and pineapple slices. Ah! Ekaite blinked. She looked around. No one had seen it. Then she carefully dragged the tray into her small room behind the kitchen, locked the door quietly, and ate the food like someone who hadn't seen food in 3 months. Tears ran down her cheeks as she ate. But it wasn't because of the pepper. It was because, for the first time in a long time, something answered her hunger and gave her good food. She didn't even eat everything. Her stomach gave up before the food finished. She covered the rest carefully and kept it under her mat. But trouble was already brewing because Edidiong had been watching from one corner, peeping through the window that led to the small backyard. But she didn't see how the food came. She only saw Ekaite dragging the tray inside her room. She tiptoed back to the main house and burst into the parlor. Mama, that girl is hiding something. She brought food from somewhere. Madam Ima Basi, who was busy applying cream on her elbow, sat up. You say? What food? Rice, moi moi, even drink. I saw her dragging a full tray inside her room. And there's no pot in the kitchen to show that she cooked it or something. Madam's eyes narrowed. Go and knock. Call her. Meanwhile, in the room, Ekaite was just finishing her last bite of moi moi when she heard the knock. Ekaite! She swallowed quickly, ensuring the tray was well hidden under her mat. Yes, ma. Come out here now. She adjusted her wrapper and stepped out, trying to look confused and innocent. Madam Ima was standing in the door with folded arms and tight lips, like someone holding fat inside. Where did you get food from? Food? Ekaite blinked. Don't play stupid with me. You think I don't know you're hiding food in that room? Eh? Where is it from? Who gave it to you? Ekaite looked at the ground and stammered. Someone dropped it for me. Who? I don't know, ma. Before she could finish, Edidiong pushed past her and barged into the room. She lifted the mat and screamed, See it oh! See the food, mama. Madame stormed into the room and looked at the tray. There were still some leftover food there. She turned to Ekaite immediately. How did this food come here? I said, tell me right now. But Ekaite kept her mouth shut. Madame reached out, searched her wrapper roughly until her fingers felt the bell. Then she pulled it out immediately. What is this? Ekaite's eyes widened. Madame turned it in her hand. It even has a red cloth tied to it. Wait oh. So this is the thing you are using to do magic in my house? Is it from the stream? Answer me! Ekaite didn't speak. Edidiong took the bell from her mother and examined it like treasure. Let's try it. Let's see if it works, she told her. She rang it once. Nothing happened. She rang it again. Still nothing. Madame hissed. You this stupid girl. How does this thing work? Ekaite said slowly. It's not for you. It doesn't answer wicked people. Madame's hand shook. So you're calling me wicked? Ekaite kept quiet. That was the only thing that saved her that night. Because Madame wanted to slap her, kick her, break her bones. But something Maybe fear of the fact that she now has magic was what held her back. She held the bell tightly, already weaving her plans together in her head. Fine, don't talk, but you will still tell me where you got this thing from. And if you think you are the only one that can have magic, then you are joking. She turned to Edidiong and said, next Sunday, you are going to the stream. Go and bring your own bell. Bring the biggest one. Ekaite's heart skipped for a second, but she didn't say anything because she knew the stream had ears and not everyone who went there returned with blessing. From the moment Ekaite refused to reveal the truth about the bell, Madam Imabasi changed a bit. She no longer slapped and kicked Ekaite for no reason, but instead, the silence became heavier. She started giving her long, cold stares, and her voice became way colder. But worse still, Ekaite began to notice that she had no privacy again in the house. She would go outside, and Edidiong would suddenly appear. She would go to pee in the bush at night, and a curtain would shift. She knew she was being watched, but she kept her cool. Then, one Saturday evening, Madam Imabasi called her into the parlor and said, "You said that bell does not work for who is in the owner, Abi?" she asked, smiling fakely while rubbing her arm with her lotion. "Yes, ma." "Okay, then I've decided we need our own. My daughter will go to the stream tomorrow. You are not the only one who deserves good things in this life. Do you hear me?" Ekaite said nothing, but her heart squeezed. She wanted to warn them, but how do you warn someone who doesn't believe they can ever be wrong? The next morning, Edidiong dressed like she was going for a carnival and not a sacred stream. She wore beads on her wrists. She wore fancy slippers. Her hair was well made, and she powdered her nose like she was expecting a photo shoot. "Remember what I told you," Madam said, adjusting her wrapper and following her to the gate. "We are not beggars. Don't go and kneel for the woman like Ekaite did. You are from a respected family. Do you hear me?" Edidiong replied, "Mama, relax. I'm not afraid of one dirty old woman." "Good. And tell her we want the bigger bell, not that tiny thing she gave Ekaite." Edidiong nodded, popped chewing gum into her mouth, and headed down the path like the daughter of a senator. When she reached Uduakidem, the air felt different, but the river was still. She looked around, but she didn't see anyone. Then that familiar cough echoed softly, the same one Ekaite had witnessed. She turned, and there she was, the old woman, wobbling slowly down the slope with a walking stick and a big bucket on her head. But unlike Ekaite, Edidiong didn't move to help. She folded her arms and said, "Excuse me, are you the one that gave Ekaite the small bell?" The old woman blinked and didn't say anything. "Well, she lives with us, and we saw her with it. Now, I and my mama need our own. And so my mama said I should come to you directly." The old woman kept walking slowly. "I'm talking to you. I don't have time to waste, please." The woman finally turned and said, "Follow me." When they reached the hut, the old woman brought out a red pouch and handed it over to Edidiong. "This is your bell." Edidiong opened it and hissed, "This one? It's too small now. My mama said we need the bigger one because we are two." The old woman stared at Edidiong for a little longer, and she said, "You want the bigger bell?" "Yes," Edidiong answered impatiently. The woman sighed. She turned and disappeared into the hut for a long moment. But when she returned, she was holding a larger bronze bell, old, tarnished, and heavier than it looked. She handed it over with a single warning: "Make 3 wishes one at a time only, and make sure to lock your doors and your windows properly before you speak. Edidion took it. Finally, thanks. And then she just turned and walked away. Back at the house, Madam Imabasi was waiting. And when she saw the size of the bell, her eyes lit up. Correct, that's my girl. This is the type I'm talking about. That old woman finally used her head. They did not waste time at all. They sent Ekaite away. Go and borrow lighter from Mama Nkoyo. Make sure to stay there until we call you. As soon as Ekaite left, they locked the doors and windows, pulled all the curtains, and sat in the center of the parlor. The bell was on the table between them. Are you ready? Madame whispered. Edidion nodded, holding her breath. Let's not waste wishes, oh. Me, I want a mansion, new clothes, plenty money, food stuff, anything extra at all. Let the bell add it. All of it. Okay, me, I want iPhone and less material for my Sunday wear, Edidion added. Good. So they held hands together and Edidion declared, we wish for a mansion, we wish for wealth, we wish for new clothes, food, latest iPhone, new shoes, and endless blessings. She rang the bell once, twice, 3 times. Ding, ding, ding. At first, there was silence for a little while. Then the light bulb above flickered. Then the floor began to vibrate. And suddenly, from under the chair, ants poured out. The red, thick and angry ones. Then cockroaches, millipedes and snakes. Real snakes followed. Edidion screamed, ah! Mama, what is this? Abasie! Open the door, open the door! Madam Ima shouted. The door is locked, it won't open. Edidion screamed back. Madam ran to the window, tried to force it open. Nothing moved. The curtains twisted themselves shut. And then came the bites, the stings, the scratches. They screamed, called Jesus, begged and pounded the door. But outside, nobody heard them all. Not even a sound escaped. So the dangerous animals beat them to death. The neighbors noticed first. By evening, one woman whispered to her husband, have you heard them today? No. That woman no dey shout since morning. Even that her daughter. Their house just dey quiet. The man responded. By the next day, flies started gathering near the windows. A strange odor slipped out of the compound, the kind that had people cover their noses. The neighbors went to open the door. When the door was finally forced open, the whole village gathered to see. What they saw, nobody could explain. The room was dark, the curtains were shredded. There were deep animal scratches on the wall. Everywhere was scattered. The bell lay in the middle of the floor, cold and still. But what of Madam Imabasi and Edidion? Gone. There were no bodies, no notes, just 2 wrappers that were tattered lying on the floor. Elders said their greed swallowed them. Children said the stream carried them away. But till today, nobody could say what exactly happened to them. Far down the village road was Ekaite, walking slowly with a lighter in her hand. But something in her spirit told her not to return to that house. She thought about it for a minute and decided to follow her instincts. She then reached into her wrapper, touched the bell, and was so glad Mama Ima gave it back to her. So she whispered, I wish I had a better life. She rang it once. Immediately after, the bell vanished right from her hand as if it never existed. But what happened next was simply restoration. By the next day, Ekaite was living in a small beautiful bungalow on the other side of Ikot Abasi. The kind of peaceful house that had flowers at the front and children's laughter at the back. Nobody could see where the money came from, but she had gold coins under her new mattress. People guessed different things, but only Ekaite knew the truth. and she wasn't going to share it. Things had turned around for her. She now wore high-class Ankara like a princess, ate real food. She had helpers that she paid really well and treated them with kindness. She started a small business that grew faster than pepper on wet soil. Not long after, she opened a free learning center for village children. She provided books, food, and uniform. The village was very thankful to her. Children ran to hug her skirts whenever they saw her. Even women who once insulted her whispered, "God really lifts the humble." And Ekaite, she still walked humbly and still remained kind. Moral lessons. Ekaite didn't fight back or curse anyone. All she did was to just help someone in need, even when she had nothing. But her kindness made a way for her, and the greed of her madam and daughter destroyed them. In life, what you do to others always comes back to you. If you plant wickedness, don't expect to harvest peace. Karma is real. Okay, Naya Paddies, thank you so much for watching my video to the very end. You are the real MVP, Paddy. What did you learn from this one? Please tell me in the comment section. I love to read from you all. Please subscribe to this channel and share this video to everyone you know. Remember, don't let anyone dim your shine. Until next time, bye.